Hey everybody, welcome back to our channel. As many of you know who have been following, my wife Amber and I quit our jobs back in May of 2024 to take a trip around the world, a trip of the lifetime. This is something we had talked about for years and we finally took the leap. We spent the last 7 months traveling the world, and in that time visited 15 different countries across 3 continents, starting in South Africa and ending in South Korea. Here's a map of all the different countries we visited on our trip, and as you can see, we didn't take the most traditional route. But as we look back, we're super happy with how the trip turned out and the itinerary we chose. It truly was one of the best experiences of our lives, and we'd encourage anyone who's considering something similar to do it. You definitely won't regret it. So now that our trip around the world has come to an end, we wanted to look back and share our top 5 favorite countries we visited in these last 7 months. I know when we were planning our trip, we spent a lot of time reading blogs, watching YouTube videos, and researching which countries we wanted to visit. And that was super helpful in shaping our trip. So we wanted to put something similar together in one video summarizing our trip, which will hopefully help others and inspire them to kind of do something similar. We also have individual videos on our channel of each place we visited if you want to do a deep dive and get more specific on a specific place, so definitely go check those out. But without further ado, let's jump into our top 5 list. Okay, so coming in at number 5 is South Africa. South Africa was our first stop on the trip, and we spent a total of 12 days there in late May to early June. Our time in South Africa was split between 3 different parts of the country: Cape Town, Franschhoek, and the Klasseray Private Game Reserve outside of Kruger National Park. So first things first, Cape Town is an amazing city. The natural beauty of the city is unmatched, with great hiking opportunities and viewpoints at Table Mountain and Lion's Head, along with some super scenic beach towns along the coast, such as Camps Bay. We really enjoyed biking along the coast through the different neighborhoods, and it was a great way to see and explore the city. You can also really experience the local Cape Malay culture in the Bocap neighborhood and get 5-star dining at a reasonable cost throughout the city. We went to a restaurant called Belly of the Beast in Cape Town, and it was far and away the best meal we had on the trip. Just a couple hours drive then outside of Cape Town is Franschhoek, which is known as the country's food and wine capital. This is a must visit if you are into wines, and we toured multiple wineries over the course of a couple days and absolutely loved it. Our favorites were Borschendal, Babliostoren, and Anura, but you really can't go wrong with any of the wineries in this region. Finally, you can't go to South Africa without doing a safari. We opted for a private game reserve bordering Kruger National Park and stayed at Ntambo Tree Camp. Our stay at Ntambo was excellent. We saw so many animals on our game drive and our lodge, including all the big 5. We definitely recommend Ntambo to anyone looking for a moderately priced but still luxury feeling experience. And it was our first safari, or my first safari at least, and it was really great. So overall, South Africa was an amazing country with, in my opinion, the friendliest people we encountered on our trip. Also, I know safety is a concern for a lot of people, and for good reason, but in our experience, using a mix of common sense and planning ahead to make sure you don't end up in a place you don't want to be had us feeling comfortable throughout our time in South Africa. Next up, at number 4 on our list, we head to Southeast Asia in the country of Vietnam. Vietnam was towards the back half of our trip. We visited in late October to early November. We spent a total of 17 days in Vietnam, all in the northern part of the country. And even with us only seeing a small part of the country, we were impressed enough to put it at number 4 on our list. So let's just start with our favorite part of our time in Vietnam, the Hai Gian Loop, one of Vietnam's more popular activities, and deservedly so. The Hai Gian Loop is a 3 to 4 day loop in the northernmost region of Vietnam, where you'll explore and experience otherworldly landscapes of eroded limestone karst with incredible views at every turn. The loop is best done on the back of a motorbike and is one of the most incredible single experiences we had on our trip. You also get to explore some of the best caves and waterfalls the country has to offer on the loop and interact with the local ethnic minority groups of the region. Another can't miss stop in northern Vietnam is Ha Long Bay. We read a lot of different opinions about this place, with some people saying it's dirty, overcrowded, and not worth it, but we really enjoyed it. Again, the scenery was out of this world, with these crazy limestone islands and rock formations jutting out of the sea. We did a 3-day, 2-night cruise, and even though we had some bad weather, it was totally worth it. Moving then to the Ha Long Bay on land, as it's called, the city of Ninh Binh. Ninh Binh was a very similar landscape to Ha Long Bay, but on land instead of the sea, hence the nickname. There are some great activities in Ninh Binh, including the Trong On boat tour, hiking the Hang Hoa Cave viewpoint, and exploring the Bai Din Pagoda. One more slightly off the beaten path destination in Vietnam is the Mai Chau Valley. This is a more laid-back rural part of Vietnam where you can cycle around gorgeous rice fields surrounded by immense emerald mountains, and is a good way to kind of slow the pace down from kind of an otherwise hectic kind of country and area. Finally, the capital city of Hanoi, a bustling city, never short of excitement and filled with some of the best cheap eats around. But while Vietnam wasn't our #1 food destination on this trip, and that honor goes to Korea, who unfortunately didn't make the top 5 overall list here, Vietnam was certainly a top food destination of the trip for us. In Hanoi, we feasted on pho, bun cha, banh mi, and so many other delicious local dishes. Safe to say, in Vietnam, the food we ate was definitely better than any of the Vietnamese food we'd had kind of in the States or elsewhere. So overall, Vietnam, amazingly diverse country, great food, great scenery, and well worth #4 on the list here. For #3 on our list, we are staying in the neighborhood and moving south down to Indonesia. Amber and I absolutely love Indonesia. This was our second time there after going for our honeymoon back in 2023. This time around, we spent much more time in the country, a whole 40 days, the most time we spent in any single country on this trip. We were there during September and October and were able to explore 4 different islands. We started in Java, the most populous island in both Indonesia and the world, with over 153 million people. And Java is really an adventure seeker's dream and is home to 2 of the most stunning volcanoes in the world, the Ijen crater and Mount Bromo. Both are best seen by waking up early and hiking up for a sunrise viewing of the volcanoes. Ijen, on the easternmost part of Java, presents a striking landscape with a large turquoise-colored acid lake at the center, surrounded by volcanic slopes, and most notably, the unique phenomenon of blue fire visible at night. Unfortunately, the blue fire wasn't visible when we visited, but the experience was amazing nonetheless. The view of Mount Bromo, then, is perhaps the most iconic in all of Indonesia and offers a panorama of volcanic peaks emerging from a sea of sand and is often shrouded in kind of a mystical layer of fog. Bromo also allows you the opportunity to walk along the ridge of an active volcano, which is quite the thrill. In addition to volcanoes, Java is also home to some of Indonesia's most vibrant cities like Yogyakarta, where you can find 2 of the world's most famous temples, Borobudur and Prambanan. Definitely some amazing temples, and even as someone who's not a big temple person, these were very cool to see. Finally, there are a few hidden gems in Java, and I think one particularly to call out is Meru Betiri National Park. This area on the southeast coast of Java is well off the beaten tourist path. There were very few tourists here, and is a place you can enjoy beautiful and empty beaches and visit the Sukamade Turtle Conservation. This was a super unique experience where we had to kind of off-road for a couple hours to get to this isolated beach in the national park. And here there's a conservation center where you can release baby turtles into the ocean. There were hundreds of baby turtles. It was amazing and definitely an experience not to be missed. Okay, so all of that, and we've only covered one island in Indonesia, Java. So now let's move over to Flores and Komodo National Park. This is one of the more popular areas of Indonesia, known for great marine life, beautiful islands, and of course the famous Komodo dragons. This was actually not our favorite part of Indonesia, mostly because we cheaped out on our cruise option and spent 4 days on a fairly uncomfortable boat and sleeping on a hard deck. However, some of the views and activities over the 4 days, like Pink Beach and Padar Island, were great, so it wasn't a total loss. Also, in my opinion, the Komodo dragons were a little bit overrated. Next, we head off to Lombok, which was our favorite island in Indonesia. If you're looking for beautiful beaches, fewer crowds than Bali, and a laid-back vibe, Lombok is your place. Kuta is the main beach town and has a nice mix of cafes, restaurants, and proximity to some of the best beaches. We rented a scooter and spent day after day beach hopping and just enjoying the slow pace of life in Lombok. Senggigi is another popular beach town on the east coast of Lombok where we spent a few days and is known for affordable beach resorts and amazing sunsets. Then, if you haven't had enough laid-back beach time, hop over to the world-famous Gili Islands. We spent 6 days on Gili T, continuing to enjoy the island life. The unique and cool thing about the Gili Islands is that there are no cars, so you bike everywhere you need to go. It is also a world-class diving and snorkeling location, and we saw multiple turtles every time we went out on the water. Finally, you can't talk about Indonesia without mentioning Bali. We didn't spend too much time in Bali on this trip, but we did spend the start and the end of our time in Indonesia at 2 luxury resorts in Bali, the Umana Bali and Alia Villas Uluwatu. Both of these were 5-star stays, providing beautiful ocean views, luxury villas with personal pools, and incredible service and fine dining. So Bali is definitely a place where if you're looking for kind of that luxury stay, you can find that in Bali at a somewhat affordable price. Overall, Indonesia is awesome and a place we will for sure be back to. It's a bit unlucky to only be ranked 3rd and easily could have taken the number 1 spot if not for these next 2 countries. Coming in at number 2 is Namibia. This was a super close call with our number 1 country, and Amber actually had Namibia ranked as her favorite, but since I'm the one making the video, I took the final say here. So Namibia was our second stop of the trip and was absolutely breathtaking. We spent 11 days in Namibia in early June and explored the country with a camping-equipped 4x4 vehicle. This self-drive option is a popular way to travel around the country, and I would highly recommend it. In my opinion, it's the best way to see the country, as you can move at your own pace, stay inside the national parks, and do it all in a cost-effective manner. Our first and favorite stop in Namibia was Sosusvlei, a salt and clay pan surrounded by high red dunes located in the southern part of the Namib Desert. Sosusvlei is home to some of Namibia's most famous dunes, including Elim Dune, Dune 45, and Big Daddy Dune. Climbing these dunes is not an easy task, but it provided our favorite views of the whole trip. We truly felt like we were on another planet. It is here where we also discover the joy of running down the sand dunes, a much more fun and easier experience than the climb up. Sosusvlei is also home to the famous Deadvlei, which means dead marsh. This place has gained some fame over the recent years on Instagram and YouTube, so we were a little skeptical it wouldn't live up to the social media hype. But it really blew us away, and it's definitely a place you need to experience in person. Next up in Namibia for us was the coastal city of Swakopmund in nearby Sandwich Harbor. Swakopmund is a strange yet intriguing city established by German colonists in the late 1800s. It's also the adventure capital of Namibia, offering countless activities including skydiving, fishing, sandboarding. We opted for a quad biking tour and had a great time shredding the dunes outside the city while enjoying some great ocean views. We also then did a 4x4 tour of Sandwich Harbor, which for us is a must visit in Namibia. Sandwich Harbor is an area south of Swakopmund where huge desert dunes meet the crashing ocean waves. It is one of the most unique places in the world and provided more incredible views, dune climbing, and heart-pounding dune driving. One recommendation here is go with a guide. You have to know how the tides are working, or else you could get stuck between the ocean and the dunes with nowhere to go. Another place worth checking out in Namibia if you have the time is Spitzkoppe, known as the Matterhorn of Africa due to its unique rock formation. It's a cool place to explore if you have a day or two, with some hikes you can do throughout the park, some old Bushman cave paintings, and a great place to camp and watch the sunset. This was our favorite place to camp, actually, as the campsites were super big, remote, and offered stunning views. Finally, Namibia is also a very underrated safari destination, in our opinion, with Etosha National Park being the top spot in the country for wildlife viewing. The unique thing about Etosha is that you can do a self-drive safari here. Etosha is very dry, especially in the dry season, which forces all of the animals to congregate around the watering holes. This makes the self-drive a great option, as you can drive to different watering holes at your own pace and almost be guaranteed to see a variety of wildlife. We saw all sorts of animals, including elephants, lions, cheetahs, zebras, and more. Etosha is possibly most famous for their rhino population, and we saw many of them as well. One tip here is to stay at a campsite inside the Etosha National Park, as it allows you to view the watering holes at night, which is quite the experience and where you'll see a lot of the action, especially rhinos. Overall, Namibia left a real impression on us. This is one of the most uniquely beautiful countries I've ever been to and is well deserving of the number 2 spot on our list. Alright, so the moment you've all been waiting for, the number 1 country from our 2024 world trip was Kyrgyzstan. So let me set the stage here a bit. Kyrgyzstan is not a very popular travel destination, especially for Western tourists. It only came on my radar about a year and a half before we left, and if you had asked a younger me, this is a country I don't think I ever thought I would have visited. But after hiking in Patagonia a few years back, we were looking for an equally epic but less touristy trekking destination, and that's when I discovered and became obsessed with Kyrgyzstan. So let's start with the mountains and trekking in Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan is renowned for its stunning mountainous terrain, with the Tian Shan and Pamir mountain systems dominating over 90% of its territory. We did 2 multi-day treks in Kyrgyzstan, the first being the Alakul trek, located outside of Karakol in the northeast of the country. This is Kyrgyzstan's most popular trek, and we did over 3 days and 2 nights. This was a pretty challenging hike, especially day 2, where we covered a lot of distance and elevation gain at high altitude. But it was an incredibly rewarding hike with a great diversity of scenery and landscapes, ranging from tree-lined valleys with raging rivers flowing through, to snow-capped mountains and glacial lakes. If you're tight on time and can only do 1 trek in Kyrgyzstan, this is the one to do. The second trek we did in Kyrgyzstan was the 8-day, 7-night Best of Alay trek in the south of the country. This trek offered equally incredible views as Alakul and gave us the chance to stay with local families each night in yurt camps. The Kyrgyz people have a nomadic tradition, and even today, many local families live in yurt camps up in the mountains during the summer to let their livestock graze. Staying and interacting with these local families throughout the trek was the best and most culturally immersive experience we had on the whole trip. Some of the hiking highlights were also amazing. The Sari Mogul Pass, the 3 Dragons Gorge, and Travelers Pass, which provided a great view of the 7,000 plus meter tall Lenin Peak. While the mountains of Kyrgyzstan are amazing, it's not the only thing this country has to offer. It is also home to some incredibly scenic lakes, including two of the most famous ones, Issyk and Songkul. Issyk is the largest lake in Kyrgyzstan and the second largest saltwater lake in the world. We spent a few relaxing days on the south side of the lake, enjoying the warm weather on the beach and even braving the chilly water to go for a swim. We also did an eagle hunting demonstration here, which was super cool. Seeing the size of these birds up close was mind-blowing and something we'll never forget. Now, Songkul was a very different lake experience, but equally great. Songkul is an alpine lake located at an altitude of over 3,000 meters and was quite cold, even in the summer. So no sunbathing here, but the green pastures and the mountains surrounding the lake were absolutely gorgeous. We spent 2 nights with a local family in their yurt camp and enjoyed playing with the local kids and just the peaceful beauty of this place. This is also a very popular place for horseback riding, and you can check out our Kyrgyzstan video on our channel to see how that went for me. Spoiler, it didn't go great, but was still kind of an amazing couple days here up at this alpine lake. A few final things then to say about Kyrgyzstan. While the capital city of Bishkek isn't the main draw of the country for most people, we found it surprisingly nice. You definitely noticed the Soviet influence in city planning, and we really enjoyed the laid-back nature of the city and all the green space it had to offer. Another place worth checking out is the city of Jedi Ogus near Karakol. There you'll find the red rock hill formations known as the Seven Bulls, and is another good place to do some horseback riding. Finally, gotta talk a little bit about the food in Kyrgyzstan. While it was not our favorite cuisine from the trip, it was definitely the most unique and a cool experience to try out some new dishes. 2 in particular that you need to try are the beshbarmak, which is a horse meat and noodle dish, which was actually pretty tasty, and then kumis, which is a fermented horse milk, which we didn't enjoy too much. And then finally, ashlan fu was a cold, spicy noodle dungan dish, which you can find in the northeast of the country, and we actually really enjoyed that. So overall, Kyrgyzstan is still a largely undiscovered country, meaning there isn't great tourist infrastructure, and it isn't the easiest place to travel. But in return, you get an incredibly unique experience with beautiful, unspoiled nature, super friendly people, and overall just an amazing place. So if you love the outdoors and want to get away from the crowds, I cannot recommend Kyrgyzstan enough. So that is it for this video. Thank you all for watching. We'll also include here our full power ranking of all the countries we visited on this trip, if you're interested in taking a look at that. Hope you enjoyed this video, and feel free to leave any comments or questions in the section down below. Thanks all, and bye for now.